And now, let me bring our next speaker to the stage in the segment of AI Talks. So the next company coming forward is Sash.ai, which specializes in transforming global capability centers, also known as GCCs, into autonomous intelligent entities leveraging various forms of AI. Let me present to all of you the co-founder and chief AI officer of Sash.ai, Shabareesh Raj. Please put your hands together and help me welcome Shabareesh to the stage. So Shabareesh, before we dive into the presentation, I am just curious to know what a global capability center is, if you don't mind.
All right. I think Global Capability Center is something which is taking news every day in every news channel as a part of government initiative as well. So these are the companies which is globally present, and they have their operations which they're planning to set it up mostly in Bangalore, Hyderabad, or like different parts of the India.
Okay, wonderful. I'm sure people from advertising would know what a GCC is, right? Yes? Yes? Okay. So I think I am the only one, uneducated, illiterate one here. Pardon me for that. But then anyways, I want to know the inspiration behind you starting Sash.ai.
Yeah. Sure. I think that goes way back, right? One of the, I was coming, I'm coming from GCC. I have about 20 years experience working in GCC. So there are a lot of pain points, which was yet to be addressed, and there was no providers for that. And that's how Sash AI is born.
Oh, wow, that's wonderful. So for you, I think no pain, no gain works very well. If there was no pain that you would have felt, you wouldn't be founding Sash.ai. Wonderful, absolutely wonderful. Are we good to go? All right, over to you, Shabareesh, then.
Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. I think this is a difficult part of the day, when post-lunch as well as after jam-packed, power-packed sessions, with a lot of singing. I'm here to give a talk on AI. So as we know, AI is everywhere today, right? From the time you go to bed and wake up, there are a lot of decisions, which is being made today. Like let's say e-commerce like Amazon is getting prepared with the deliverables, which has to be going the next day. And like companies like Zepto, Swiggy, Zomato, they're preparing your orders, based on the demand, which will be going on that day. And all other Netflix or email filters, right? So AI is everywhere, how do we try to understand, what is more suitable for the business, what we are into, right? So here, just to simplify the applications, I can say that, broadly, AI is applicable, for assist, augment, and automation, right? So assist is basically like your chatbots or virtual assistants, or it could be, something, which is used for the creative production for flyers and brochures. And augment is something, which enables the user to do better, right? Something like, data insights, or it could be personalization. And lastly, the automation is more of, how do we automate the workflow process? It could be invoice process automation, or it could be HR interview automation, things like that. So today, I'm here to decode this data insights part, how industry is trying to replace the data analyst into the AI data analyst, right? So you don't need a kind of a full team, for handling all the data queries anymore. So we have an interesting case, which we had actually done it for a B2B travel company. So which had a 25-member team just to do, asking any queries. The IT team or, the tech team is to take almost 2 to 3 days to get the answers. And the way it has been transformed now is, even the CEO can get the numbers or the trends at the tip of his phone. So that's how it is done. And let me quickly try to decode that, how this works and, how it is going to be beneficial in any part of the business. So imagine, a AI agent which has got this capability of, having the memory of what the users are talking, and also, having this planning capability in terms of how do I go about solving this specific problem, what has been asked, right? And lastly, it has got the ability to integrate into multiple tools and applications. It could be your CRM system, or it could be any SaaS tools which is there. So the idea here is a user asks a question in a very normal language, and the AI agent actually translates that into a SQL query or a Python, right? So where it is understandable by the machine and then tries to convert it. So there are different trends which is happening in the market, right? And what can be automated, right? So one is your conversational analytics, where you just ask a question to a chatbot and it tries to talk to your database and retrieves all the information in real time, right? The second one is on automated narrative reporting, right? Just extracting the data is not enough. How do you do more? How do you get the insights out of it? So let's say, like if you are getting a sales report on a daily basis on your email, and you have to read through it or do further analysis, or if you're getting any PPT presentations with no clarity on what the action items are, it might be sometimes tedious, and people might lose interest in terms of opening it, right? But if this is replaced, in terms of having the insights, along with the data, so that's what excites the leadership team. So let's say instead of saying your sales is declining by 10%, but if it is able to explain, which region or what product category or why it is declining, I think that's where the value add is going to be. So with the advanced analytics and the integration abilities, right? So these agents can actually not only give the extraction of the data, but it can do the storytelling in terms of creating the wonderful charts, and also, in terms of getting it connected into the advanced algorithms. It could be the data science or the machine learning algorithms, forecasting, like clustering, any sort of a thing. So that's where, this connecting to the tools is going to be more helpful in order to get the answers which are more relevant to what we are asking for. So we spoke about this broadly, like how do we get this automated narrative reports, right? I'll just try to explain simple case. Let's say, you have been asked from a business leader, to understand a specific brand, how it is performing, right? And if you're able to generate that, in a couple of minutes, not just extracting the data, but also pinpointing where the problem is, and also telling, what are the next steps or what actions could be taken. So if I have to go back the different stages of AI, like from descriptive to diagnostic to predictive to prescriptive, and if these AI agents are able to do everything, in one solution, so I think that's what the power, we are talking about when it comes to data insights. So there are, multiple examples, which can be done. It's not just the simple data extraction. So for example, how can be the correlation between the marketing spend and revenue by channel, right? Or the campaign executions and effectiveness, which is one of the important things, generally people tend to miss out on. So just to recap in terms of, what we spoke. So how this AI is going to replace the data analyst by introducing this kind of automated real-time business intelligence reporting with regards to the trends that we are talking about in the industry today. Conversational analytics, through a natural language, how can you extract the data what you want? And with the power of automated narrative reports, how can you generate the insights, not just the data, which can be telling you or pinpointing what exactly is the issue, and advanced analytics and tool use, which basically connects into multiple tools and applications and try to give a beautiful charts graph. Not just that, it can be automated through sending an email also. So these, one of the powerful feature, which these agents have is alert-based system, right? You need not have to go through a specific report on a daily basis. You can actually set a threshold and set an alert when and how we need to get an email. So say, for example, if the threshold is, if a specific brand or category is losing sales by X percentage or X rupees, so that's when, you need to get an alert in terms of understanding why that has declined or why specific product has improved the sales in a specific state or region, and then get back to the stakeholder in terms of understanding what are the key drivers which is driving this. So that's the power, what we are talking about, which mainly this agents in BI, how it is transforming in today's world. I think with that, I'm ending this talk. Thank you, everyone, and thanks for having me here. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Shabareesh, for that knowledge-intensive talk. May I request you to please stay back and request Ganga, our committee member, to please head forward and help us present Shabareesh with a memento. Thank you, Shabareesh. Thank you, Ganga. Thank you very much.